Good afternoon, everybody. Today I've got Pauric Greenan from Choice Health with me today. Pauric, I'd love for you to just start with the beginning of your company and what inspired you to get started.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So my background is very extensively in radiology or imaging, as it's commonly called. I'm originally qualified in radiology back in the mid-90s. I worked through the NHS for years as a radiographer, as a clinical specialist. And then I suppose about 8-10 years ago, I worked in Clatterbridge Cancer Centre, and I worked very much in the imaging system side of things and very much the research and innovation as well, and clinical trials. And we saw that a lot of the clinical trials were really struggling for capacity. And that was probably down to clinical capacity as well, because clinical was under such strain. So the turnaround times, etc., for clinical trials and reading just wasn't getting done in time, and the return to the pharma companies and the CROs just wasn't getting done in time, and a lot of the reading then had to go to the US to get read. So, as a consequence, we set up Choice Teleradiology, which is mainly focused on teleradiology and a bit of telehealth as well. And then that evolved to more other ologies like DEXA scanning and dermatology and cardiology reviews, particularly when COVID came along. There was a lot of video consultations improved massively during that period. And then we, in the last 12-18 months, we decided to have a complete rebrand, and we rebranded it as Choice Health. So yeah, we recognized the gap in the market in terms of clinical trials, imaging, and capacity, and we have about 40 consultant radiologists and about 40 non-radiology consultants who work in the business, and very much academic and very focused on clinical trials and research. And it's grown ever since then.
Fascinating. And I love that you touched on COVID for a little bit as well. I'd just like to talk about your kind of personal learnings and experience over the last couple of years, taking us through the pandemic and now the back end of it now. What are the kind of the learnings, the experiences that you've kind of picked up along the way?
Well, I think, I previously worked in the NHS, and trying to get big innovation projects or trying to get more digital was always a big challenge. But actually, when COVID hit, it was a massive disruptor, but actually in a positive way for imaging and radiology and teleconsultations. So I'll give you like two facts. Like, I worked across Greater Manchester NHS. We had about 300 radiologists who wanted to work remotely, but we didn't have the technology to enable them to do that, or there wasn't a massive emphasis to do that. But once COVID hit, and we wanted to have reporters available, but if they were in hospitals, there was potential for them to get ill. Basically, the whole of the radiology, the 300 radiologists were enabled in about 2 to 3 weeks. So it just showed you the power that COVID was able to initiate, really. And then the second thing, like if you just look at GPs, surgeries, I think pre-COVID teleconsultations were about less than 10%. During COVID, went up to over 90%, and it's probably fallen back somewhere to settle back to where it was, somewhere between 40 and 50%. So I mean, that was a massive positive. And then one case study that we had, we worked on a lot of overseas territories for a big international provider, and anytime a patient needed a specialist consultant, like a specialist cardiologist, that there was none of those available on the island. So they had to fly them out at quite a significant expense to maybe back to the UK or a different country to get a review. Whereas they couldn't do that whenever COVID hit, because they closed off the borders and a lot of that. So they came to us and said, could we do it via video consultation? So we did that for the 18 months or 2 years. And they never went back. They didn't want to go back to the old ways. To continue to do video consultations with cardiologists and hematologists that are all over the world, to remote locations, because they literally don't want to go back to the way it was. So I think there was a lot of positive came out of it, particularly in imaging and radiology.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. And it really sounds like the benefits that came out of COVID, obviously it's impacted your industry so well. And I do feel like maybe it impacted a lot of industries in a similar way. Technology kind of took over, and we all realized that we could kind of get everything done in a much more efficient way, obviously in terms of time, in terms of travel time and everything, cut all of that out and just cut to the chase in terms of just basically getting online and talking to one another. I think also it got to the point where people were kind of sick of Zoom, and you know, it obviously infected all of our lives, like personal lives, like games and stuff. And I don't know if you there was that application that you could use and just play games with all of your friends and things. So it really did take over every single aspect of our lives during COVID. But it's good to hear that that's actually made a massive improvement within your sector. In terms of starting the business itself and looking at the business side of things, did you ever see yourself as a business owner? Was that something that had ever crossed your mind before, or was it just you saw a gap in the market and decided to go for it?
Yeah, it was always something I wanted to do. You know, even if you trace back, I was always interested in the likes of Dragon's Den and
Yes.
you know, the entrepreneur program that what do you call Alan Sugar has, you know, that
Of course.
The Apprentice. The
Yes.
Apprentice. Yeah. So I always watched them. I was always very interested. So I was always wanted to do something like that. And then I done a business startup program through Liverpool Chamber of Commerce that was 3-4 months long, and it actually was excellent. It was really, really good, and really focused the mind and really focused what we wanted to do. And after that, then that was 2015, I think. The business really took off from then. So it was something I really wanted to do. Working in the NHS as well, you know, fantastic organisation and great experience. But sometimes it was a little bit frustrating trying to implement new ideas or to bring in new technology. That was difficult. So, you know, working for yourself, you provide more direction to yourself. You can make decisions quicker for yourself. You can see the impact of that in quickly, return very quickly. And then I approached the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Program under Professor Tony Young and became part of that. I think it was 2018 or 2019, and that was really useful. And that's kind of like a tool or a vehicle to be entrepreneurial within the NHS and build a business on the outside too. So that was really useful to be part of that. And I think it's the biggest entrepreneurial program in the world at this stage.
Wow.
And I think they're actually recruiting there at the moment for about the 8th cohort, I think it is. And I think I was the 4th. So that's well worth anybody that's interested to have a look at that online, the NHS CEP, I think it's called.
Okay, amazing. I can include the details of that in the description. I'm sure a lot of people will be so that's definitely towards NHS. I find that though that is quite a common theme within scientific and medical communities, introducing new technology, new ideas. It seems to also have run throughout history and stuff. I think people coming across kind of medical finds and wanting to push things in a certain direction they've always famously received a lot of backlash, a lot of negativity, a lot of confusion, and maybe slow-paced reactions towards new ideas.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, the NHS is such a big juggernaut that trying to implement new ideas, trying to go through all the bureaucracy or the hurdles that you have to cross, it can often be quite difficult. But then on the other side, like you have severe clinical pressure, you know, that it's very much, look, just carry on with what we're doing and get the work done because we know what we're doing, not going off trying to find a better way of doing things because you're wasting time and you've clinical work to do here, you know. So sometimes, yeah, there is a reluctance to do that. And I find that private companies or private providers were always 4 or 5 years ahead in terms of the technology adoption. So teleradiology is probably a great example. So teleradiology providers are using cloud-based and web-based radiology systems for, you know, probably 4 or 5 years before the NHS radiology systems were using or radiology departments. So they were a lot more focused on teleworking or working from home. All the radiologists would work from home, whereas the NHS systems are very much based around working in the trust, working in the hospital. But then when COVID hit and everything, and, you know, even like working in Manchester, traveling into Manchester from 10 miles out the road was taking an hour and a half, parking, etc. Just quality of life was a big issue. Whereas if you can offer a reporter or a radiologist working from home 2-3 days a week, it's a lot more attractive to try and recruit skilled radiologists to that role. So I think there were a bit of time catching up on that. But I think they're getting there now, and the Clinical Entrepreneur Program was a vehicle or an avenue to do that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of that, it definitely sounds like there's space and they're giving that time, which is excellent to hear. In terms of the future of Choice Health, where do you see it growing to? Where is the do you have a final destination, or is it just carrying on?
I think at the moment we work for. I think that the big problem, like I said, or an issue at the moment in the NHS is clinical capacity. So focus and priority, rightly so, is on clinical work. So when there's clinical trials and research work to be done in the background, it sort of gets pushed to the side, and it's not a priority, or it's not getting done. So our focus is really is trying to help out on that, because there's really two net effects of that. Is one, there's lost revenue for the trust because they're not running trials through the system, and then two is patients. Patients aren't getting access to the latest drugs that are on trial in the hospital. So I know some large trusts in the UK that have over 100 trials sitting on their desk that they can't be initiated because they don't have scanning capacity, medical physics capacity, and don't have the reading capacity. So that's denying them funding and denying patients access to those trials drugs. So we're looking to initiate that, really. Our focus has been very much to this point on working with the pharma companies and the CROs. We have really good clients, all the big pharma CRO companies globally. We've been working with them, and we're probably more focused now on working with the NHS and clinical trials units. And I often describe what we do as a Venn diagram. So you have the world of pharma and CRO and research and innovation, which is a massive world in itself, and then you have the world of radiology and imaging, which is a massive world as well, but we're that little bit in the middle that intersects. So it's research and innovation within imaging that is for pharma and CRO, and that's where we help out. So that's a niche area. So at the minute, it's just really grow what we're doing at the minute. We've a really good model, really good proof of concept. We have some fantastic projects that we've worked on over the years, even in telehealth. We have several clients that have CT scanners and X-ray machines on private yachts in the Caribbean and all over the world. So really £250 million yachts. So it's just, we've a really good model and a really good basis, and it's just really growing that into different areas. And the NHS and clinical trials units and helping them out is obviously a focus. So yeah, that's the short-term plan. Long-term plan is obviously growing to the likes of an imaging CRO and be more involved in trials and research, and just help it be more fluid, I guess.
I mean, fascinating. It sounds like there's real progress to be made there as well. In terms of the beginnings of the business and things, if you could go back, would there be anything that you would have done differently putting things together, or did everything kind of align in the way that it was supposed to?
I suppose we were very clinical. We're very clinical. My background, radiology and imaging systems, and my business partner, Dr. Riz Bassett, is a consultant radiologist. So we're very, very much clinical. So we had to completely learn how to market the business and how to, a lot of the pharma and CRO companies that we are working with are very big organizations, maybe 100,000 employees. It's trying to target and find those right people. We're probably very slow to do that, or we weren't. I suppose when we got out there and marketing our business ourselves, we realized that there was real, sharks, if you like, in terms of how to be a business development person and how to get to the right people and how to market yourself, how to promote yourself on LinkedIn. So, that was a sharp learning curve for us. So I suppose if I was to go back, I'd probably engage more in that, or employ more people in terms of business development or marketing. We kind of thought it was, it wasn't as in-depth as it really is, or we thought we'd be able to do it, but actually it's a real art, it's a real science. So that would be probably the main thing. And else really, no, I think we've been very sound or very organic in what we've done, what we've grown so far. So we're very happy with that. Probably, it has taken 8 years, so probably condensed that a bit better would have been advantageous. But I guess the point I made about the marketing and that initially might have helped with that.
Well, I mean, it's something that everybody has to learn. I mean, if you're coming from a clinical background, you've been involved in radiology and you've seen that side of things, that in itself is such a complex, in-depth industry that it's not common to understand. It's not easy to wrap your head around. Whereas learning it from scratch to build your business and marketing and all of these things, of course, it's going to take time. But over these last 8 years, I mean, you could probably say that you'd like to condense it, but realistically, people spend so many years trying to hone their skills and potentially it's I feel like a lot of people maybe put themselves down a bit, but it really is that time, that patience, and once you see the growth of that company. I speak to a lot of business owners who are obviously very active on LinkedIn. They're always looking for ways to market themselves and things, but everybody's learning. It's a constantly developing market. Like, there's so many different things with new technology and social media and things. So the ways to market yourself, they're ever expanding. But I think the real key is that, like you said, if you're delivering an organic product and you believe in yourself and you have a solid kind of foundation, then business and development and marketing will come through that.
Sometimes you can get bogged down as well, and you don't, you can be frustrated, and you're trying to get work done and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But sometimes you have to take a step back and say where you were last month or last year and look at the progress that you've made. Every week you're making progress. And we did Tony Robbins business mastery courses as well, and they're really excellent, in terms of, you have to give yourself your pat on your back and say, you've come so far and you've done so well. And it's sometimes you just have to do that.
Absolutely. And I do feel like a lot of business owners are so hard on yourselves, because you're in biggest competition. I mean, obviously you have so many other things going on and so many other people that you are in direct competition with, but it's really yourself. And juggle all of these balls continually, especially if you're only one or two at the beginning. Was it just you? Was it just yourself, or did you have a business partner from the very beginning? How was the structure?
It was just initially myself that set it up. I very quickly had a business partner, radiologist, who came along, worked with me originally in Clatterbridge, who, it was he's really a good friend more than anything over the course of the business. And then we just grew organically, the other reporters and project managers, etc., QA people. So it just grew organically. Like, it was like you go out, you get a piece of work, or you're doing it yourself, and then you find somebody to come in, a really good quality person to do that, which is often difficult. So if you get somebody in, a quality person, to do a piece of work that you're doing, and then it frees you up to do more business development or looking for more work or progressing. Sometimes, again, you can get bogged down in doing working in your business, but actually you need to work on your business. So get that work that you're working on and move it out to somebody who's really good to do it for you, and then you can work on growing your business. Even looking at outsourcing we have a really good VA company as well that we work with, and just getting tasks done. There was some research that you need to get done, just outsourcing it to them, it really frees up your time, so it's fantastic.
I love that. We work really closely with a VA companies. Or Pink Spaghetti is the one that we're
Pink Spaghetti is who we work with also. Yeah, they're excellent.
I love that.
Ali at the team.
I love that. That's actually a really, really shout out. No, they're amazing. But no, wonderful. I love that. Thank you so much as well for dropping little pieces of advice. I think I'd also just like to ask, in terms of giving advice to new business owners, anybody looking to kind of start their own and get things off the ground, what would you tell them? What advice would you give?
Sometimes you can sit back and you're like, I'm going to plan it this way, or plan it and keep planning, and you have to almost have it perfect before you started it. But sometimes you just have to jump in. It's like what was it, Richard Branson gave the quote that somebody gives you an opportunity and you don't know how to do it, just say yes to do it and find out how to do it. Just find out how to do it. If you think you can do it, just jump in, set up the company, set up the website, keep working at it, progressing, and you'll find a way, But if you try and plan it all out to the nth degree in advance, to have everything in place, to have it perfect for a launch, I think sometimes you might not have the confidence to do it, or it delays things, it keeps delaying. Better to do stuff and almost catch up in the background,
Definitely, couldn't agree more. I had somebody else the other day say something very similar. It was about that balance. It was about like planning the action, but also taking the action. And yeah, that factor right there in the middle is probably the confidence, is whether you just like go for it and pull it off, and just you can spend all day perfecting a plan, but maybe are you stalling, or is this something that you need to
just being progressive, get things done. And even like, you know, I'm on the list, but at the end of the day, even look at what we achieved today, just get the little things done. You might have a headache in terms of, oh, I've got all this stuff to do. Just starting doing the little things, and then when you've a lot of them done, you think massive progress. You've got a bit of momentum, and then start doing the big things, and just keep making progress, keep getting stuff done, and I think it gathers momentum then.
Yeah, amazing. I'm just conscious of time now, Pauric, but for anyone who wants to get in touch with you, what is the best place for whether they want to get in touch with the work you're doing with Choice Health or yourself personally? Where can they get in touch?
So our website is choice.health. So we're not at .com or .co.uk. We went with a .health, which is something innovative and something new. So you'll get all our contact details there, or myself, I'm just Pauric, Pauric at choice.health. And you can get all our details there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I was going to say LinkedIn as well. I'm always on LinkedIn. Yes. So anybody wants to follow us or connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll get me on there. There's not many Pauric Greenans on LinkedIn, so you'll find me fairly easy.
Yeah, wonderful. And I will link all the descriptions and everything to Pauric's website and Choice Health in the description below.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Pauric. Have a great day.
Yeah, bye-bye.